Hello everyone, I'm Jim Knotts with the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. It is my privilege to welcome you to Father's Day 2020 at the Wall. There's a group called Sons and Daughters in Touch that are the men and women who are sons and daughters of the men listed on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. About every 5 years, they gather at the wall on Father's Day for a special ceremony honoring and remembering their fathers. This year was going to be one of those years, but unfortunately, because of the pandemic, they had to cancel their in-person event. So as we have for many years, the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund is happy to partner with Sons and Daughters in Touch to help them present this special online Father's Day ceremony. Please welcome your Master of Ceremonies, founder of Sons and Daughters in Touch, Tony Cordero.
Good morning and happy Father's Day. I'm Tony Cordero, and for 30 years it's been an honor to join with other sons and daughters to establish Sons and Daughters in Touch. For these 3 decades, our all-volunteer effort has been to locate, unite, and support those whose fathers were killed in action or are still unaccounted for from the Vietnam War. A huge welcome goes out to Gold Star wives, our moms, who wore the dual hats of mom and dad, shouldering the challenge of raising us, while at the same time mourning the loss of their husbands. I'd also like to welcome all Gold Star families who may be joining us and those who have survived and endured the loss of a loved one in military service. For our lifetimes, we've worked to make the best of difficult circumstances, and this COVID-19 challenge is no different. Thank you all for being patient and understanding as we adjusted to these circumstances. As this loss that we were handed is our unchangeable fate, we proudly note our place in the historic and heroic line of Gold Star families, from the inception of that legacy after World War I, through World War II, the Korean War, Vietnam, the Cold War, the Persian Gulf War, the global war on terror, and other conflicts in which Americans have defended freedom. We, the surviving families of the Vietnam War, accept and affirm this designation as Gold Star families. We have a brief but special program for you today, and we hope that you'll enjoy this virtual Father's Day at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. Father's Day at the Wall, our family tree. Remember, great trees bear even greater fruit. Ladies and gentlemen, if you're able, please rise and render the proper salute for the presentation of the colors and the singing of our national anthem. On October 21st, 1957, West Point grad Harry Kramer Jr. was among the first U.S. casualties in Vietnam. Today he's remembered on Panel 1 east of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. His son is one of us. Hank Kramer III is a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel and a noted folk singer. Now enjoy Hank's song, Touch a Name on the Wall, complemented by images of Sons and Daughters in Touch at the wall.
I guess you could call it our summer of freedom. It was the year that we both turned 18. We were straight out of high school, and we hitchhiked to Denver. Man, we were a sight to be seen. And that was the summer you dated my sister, until they took us away in the fall. And I just want to tell you how much I still miss you, as I touch your name on the wall, touch your name on the wall, touch your name on the wall. God help us all. Touch your name on the wall. I still wear my fatigues every time I come down here to remember these men that I knew. I touch all the names of the men from my company. I read them out loud when I do. Most people tell me that you all died for nothing. I can't agree. See this name right here? He didn't die for some country. He died for me. Touch his name on the wall. Touch his name on the wall. God help us all. Touch his name on the wall. 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 God help us all. Touch his name on the wall. Usually walls are put up for division. They're to separate me from you. So God bless a wall that can bring us together and remind us of all we've been through. God damn the liars and the tin-plated heroes who traded on the blood of these men. God grant us the courage stand up and tell them, never again. Touch a name on the wall. Touch a name on the wall. God help us all. Touch a name on the wall. Touch a name on the wall. Touch a name on the wall. God bless us all. Touch your name on the wall.
Thank you, Hank, for bringing lyrics to the experience of touching these 58,276 names on the wall. On social media, he's often referred to as the real-life Forrest Gump, but Hollywood used CGI to distill Sammy Davis's heroics into 5 minutes of that 1994 blockbuster movie. Those scenes, with Tom Hanks loosely portraying what Sammy actually did on November 18, 1967, can only capture a bit of the incredibly inspiring life of Medal of Honor recipient Sammy Davis. It's an honor to present Sammy Davis here, playing Shenandoah and sharing his inspiring story for Sons and Daughters in Touch.
My name is Sammy L. Davis, Medal of Honor recipient. I would like to wish everyone a happy Father's Day, and this is for the sons and daughters. God bless you all. I want you all to remember and to understand that your parents are not forgotten. Because of the wall in Washington, D.C., when we go there and we touch the name, there are so many of us that still have the memories of the face that we're touching. And we want other people to go and do the same thing. So God bless you. Happy Father's Day. I was in Vietnam 67 and 68 with the 9th Infantry Division, which is all, we served all the way down in the Delta. The reason why they brought us in was the 9th Infantry Division was doing a big push in the southernmost portion of South Vietnam, trying to push the enemy back up across the border. It wasn't until they hit us at 2 o'clock in the morning that we discovered that there was 1,500 of the enemy. There was only 42 of us kids, and they hit us at 2 o'clock in the morning. They would come across to the river 150 to 200 at a time, and we were shooting beehive. Do you know what beehive is? We were shooting beehive direct fire at them, and it was dark, and when the smoke would lift, well, here'd be another 150 to 200 coming. And the water was about this deep on most of them. We were set up right on the riverbank, and across the river there was 50 to 60 of our men, infantry, that were set up over there. And that's what the enemy hit first, was them. When the enemy started coming and blowing everybody up, Gwendell Holloway from Stockton, California, Gwendell stood up and waved his boonie hat at me and said, "Don't shoot," because we'd been shooting direct fire. I thought, oh my God, I've been shooting beehive at my guys. Well, I got to go get them. You know, I got to, because I could see how many enemy there was. So I went into the water and started making my way across. And when I got to the other side of the river and made my way up the bank, now the enemy was there. I could see the foxhole where I'd last seen Gwendell standing. And when I got up there, there were 3 men in the foxhole, not just one. Well, Gwendell was shot in the leg, or excuse me, Gwendell was shot in the back. Jim Deister, he was all blowed up. And Billy Ray from Texas, he was shot pretty bad. Well, I knew I couldn't carry, I knew I couldn't make 3 trips back and forth. So I asked the one above to give me the strength to carry all 3 of my brothers at one time. Now, I was shot in the back. I had beehive, I had 30 beehive in my back and an AK-47 round on my right thigh, and I'd been burned real bad by my own howitzer. But I knew I had to do it. So I loaded the guys on my back. Billy Ray I put across my shoulders, just laid him across, and the other 2 men I just kind of picked up and started making my way back to our side of the bank. And when I got to the river, now the enemy seen us and they were doing their best to stop me. Well, Jim Deister still had, he had I don't know, had 2 clips or 3 clips. So I was using their M16. And when finally I expended all that ammunition, I was close enough to the river, I just threw it in the river, because that's what the Army taught us. You don't let the enemy take control of your weapon. And I just picked up one of their weapons, and every time they'd make their assault wave behind me, well, I would do my job. Finally, I made it to the river, and I took 1 man at a time back across the river. And of course, now my guys could see me doing all this, and they were doing the best they could to help support me. But I didn't know that I didn't know any of us were left alive. I mean, that's how intense the battle was. So I finally made it to the riverbank, and 2 of my guys came down and picked the wounded, depending on which man I had with me at that time, but they picked them up out of the water and would drag them up to a foxhole, and I'd swim back across. We made it, you know. You don't, my mama, famous lesson that she taught me as a young kid, Sammy Lee, you don't lose till you quit trying. And that night, my mom was on my shoulder, and that's what she kept telling me. Well, I gave it a lot of thought, but I knew I had to go get them, because I knew that's what they would do for me. After I made it back to my side of the bank the third time and my guys pulled me back up, I passed out, lack of blood. I mean, I was severely wounded, and I woke up in the hospital in Camp Zama, Japan. What I was able to accomplish that night was not because I was big, bad, and brave. What I was able to accomplish that night was because of the love in my heart for my fellow man. But one of the unique things, 2016, one of the 3 men that I swam across the river for and his wife and I and Dixie, we went back to Vietnam. And we got to stand. Jim still had one of the original grid maps, and we put those grid maps in our cell phone, and we were able to stand in the exact spot. It's the best thing I did. And I had wanted to go back for years, but I could, no, we'll do it next year. No, we'll do it next year. Well, finally in 2016, we decided that, well, at mid-70s, if I don't do it now, I probably ain't going to get the chance to do it. So my mom sent me a harmonica in Vietnam because she thought I was bored because of the letters that I was writing. I carried the harmonica with me. I played it over and over and over again every night, and I did do a few extra songs besides just Shenandoah, but the guys would tell me that when they can hear Shenandoah, it just brings peace to their heart, because I always dedicate it to those that are on the wall. Want to thank you on this virtual Father's Day. God bless each of you. Our job is not yet done. In my opinion, it is so important that they bring the memories of their loved one, because even sitting out here, if I don't talk about it for a while, so that's why it's important that you keep venting. You keep bringing it out in the sun so the sun can eat the mildew and the moss off of it. And keep it alive so that people doesn't forget those that we have lost. It's so important to them that they don't forget. You know, they keep pushing it in the back of their heart, the back of their heart. I want them to remember and to bring it forward so that all of America can understand our missing in action, our killed in action. We don't lose till we quit trying. So let us stand up firmly for what each of us believe is right in our hearts and do our job.
Thank you, Sammy, for your service, your heroism, your patriotism, and your inspiration. It's truly an honor to have you with Sons and Daughters in Touch today. For the last few weeks, Sons and Daughters in Touch and the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund have encouraged those connected to the wall and the general public to submit brief Father's Day tribute videos. After today's virtual program, the entire loop of videos will be played. But here now are a few excerpts from those tributes.
For decades now, a very special group of men and women have come to Washington, D.C. every 2 years to mark Father's Day at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial. They are the children of the wall, the Gold Star children of the Vietnam War. Their fathers' names are carved on that black granite and in their hearts. They live on in the memories of those who fought that war and marched or flew or sailed alongside those men. At every gathering of the military family, there is always an empty chair at the table, an empty chair where our fallen brothers should be seated. In the hearts of the children of the wall, there is always an empty place where a father should have lived and breathed and laughed and cried with them. Instead, they have only vague memories from an early childhood that slowly fade like the few old photos that rest with some medals and a folded flag in the top of a box or in a trunk in the attic. Our hearts break with theirs, break for them, break for their fathers who were our brothers in battle. This year, the Sons and Daughters in Touch, the children of the wall, will only gather at the wall virtually, electronically, at a safe distance from the pandemic. I hope they know they are loved and cherished by 1 million Vietnam veterans. You are our sons and daughters too, and you always will be. God bless and keep all of you on this special Father's Day. We will see you at the wall again soon.
Hi, my name is John Rowan. I'm the National President of Vietnam Veterans of America. We're coming up on the 30th anniversary of the development of Sons and Daughters in Touch, a family organization geared to those who were left behind when their fathers were lost in Vietnam. Unfortunately, because of the quarantine from the coronavirus, we will not be gathering together in D.C. at the Vietnam Veterans Memorial to honor those who were lost and to honor their children who come together every year. And this has be the 30th year. I wish to send my regards out to all the sons and daughters, who many of them now have their own sons and daughters. It's amazing to think about how long it's been in many cases. So on behalf of the Vietnam Veterans of America and all our members, I wish to give a shout out to everybody and say welcome home and never forget. Thank you.
I am John Rose, a Vietnam veteran, having served with the Americal Division from 1969 to 1970. I currently support the Vietnam War Commemoration Office and am proud to have the opportunity to thank and honor fellow Vietnam War veterans for service during a very difficult time in our nation's history. Today, we set aside time to thank, honor, and remember our fathers. I knew some of those whose names appear on the Vietnam War Memorial Wall in Washington, D.C., that were fathers and friends. Today is their day as well. Let us remember all the fathers on that wall that never had the opportunity to see their sons and daughters grow, love, learn, and live. To all that were linked to fathers of over 58,000 whose names appear on that wall, surviving spouses, sons, daughters, grandsons, and granddaughters, let us pause for just a moment to remember them and their sacrifice for us. They must never be forgotten as our fellow soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines, as friends, and as fathers. To all, it may not be the happiest of Father's Day, but it is a day to remember Dad and all he did for us. Thank you.
On this Father's Day, let us remember all of those names that are inscribed on the wall. And let us remember them and the Gold Star families.
At TAPS, we have a saying, thank God for the little while. And while it wasn't long enough, your fathers lived extraordinary lives that included selfless service to this country. And now you are part of an American legacy of service and sacrifice. On this Father's Day, all of us at TAPS are sending you our love and our care. Our hearts are with you. Happy Father's Day.
Going forward, what's next for Sons and Daughters in Touch? There will always be more sons and daughters to find, and you can help us in that search by getting involved at sdit.org or visiting us on Facebook or Twitter. And as we conclude our ceremony today, I'd like to thank those who helped make this program possible and thank those who supported us as we made plans for our in-person gathering that was to take place this Father's Day weekend. They are Jim Knotts and the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund, the Gary Sinise Foundation, Bonnie Carroll and the Tragedy Assistance Program for Survivors, TAPS, the Vietnam Veterans of America, the Vietnam War Commemoration, the National League of POW MIA Families, the Woody Williams Foundation, the Library of Congress Veterans History Project, Vietnam veteran and POW MIA documentarian Steve Hiller, who filmed the Sammy Davis presentation, and the Richard Nixon Presidential Library where I am today. You know, throughout history, civilizations have honored their fallen warriors with monuments and tributes, and we Americans are no different. If in this tincture of time that we share here, we have brought honor to our fallen heroes, our fathers, and for some of you, your husband, your grandfather, your great-grandfather, a family relative, a friend, or a fellow Vietnam veteran, if we have brought honor to them here today, we have done our duty, and it's a job well done. Ladies and gentlemen, will you please rise if you're able and pay proper respect as memorial wreaths are presented by Sons and Daughters in Touch and the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund. Then TAPS, America's National Song of Remembrance, will be played to acknowledge those now at eternal rest, our fathers and all soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Coast Guardmen who've given their lives in the name of freedom.
Vic. Oh.
At the conclusion of today's virtual ceremony, we will share the full collection of Father's Day tribute videos which were submitted by Gold Star Sons and Daughters, families and friends of the fallen, and fellow Vietnam veterans. On behalf of the Vietnam Veterans Memorial Fund and Sons and Daughters in Touch, thank you for joining us today, and happy Father's Day.
Today, the Casey family salutes our dad, Major General George Casey. He and 6 others were killed when their helicopter crashed near Bao Lac almost 50 years ago.
On behalf of the entire Pitts family, I'd like to pay this tribute to my father on Father's Day, Captain Riley Leroy Pitts, the first African-American officer to receive the Congressional Medal of Honor. I'd also like to say Happy Father's Day to the fathers of my brothers and sisters of Sons and Daughters in Touch.
While it has been 53 years since you left us, your legacy lives on in the hearts and minds of your wife, children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren.
I remember my father, Captain Ellis David Green, killed in action May 23rd, 1970 in Vietnam, West Point graduate, class of 1967. I miss and love you, Dad. Bye-bye.
Remembering my father, Warrant Officer Alan Bryan Partridge, killed near Hue, Vietnam on January 31st, 1970. I love you and miss you. Happy Father's Day, Daddy.
In honor of our father, Colonel Raymond Penn, Jr., killed in action, Vietnam, husband to Barbara Penn and father to 4 children.
Remembering my dad. Major Albro L. Lundy, Jr., KIA, December 24th, 1970.
Remembering and honoring my father, Captain Carl E. Jackson, missing in action, June 27th, 1965. I love you, Dad. See you soon.
I'd like to honor my father, Benjamin Irvin Warren, KIA, October 3rd, 1966.
We remember my father,
my grandfather, my great-grandfather,
Carl Jackson, MIA, June 27th, 65.
Remembering and honoring my father, Lance Corporal Billy B. Woodson, Marine Corps, killed in Vietnam, December 2nd, 1966.
My brothers and I remember our father, Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Shine, an Air Force fighter pilot, missing for 24 years.
My grandpa Tony Shine was missing in action for 24 years. His remains were returned, but there are still 1,587 Americans unaccounted for.
Honoring Cheryl Roth and Denny Perry by remembering their dad, Billy Roth, shot down with my dad June 27th, 1965, MIA.
Sergeant Major retired Lisa Torello. This is a little tribute to my father, SFC Carl H. Torello, 4E40 on the wall. Special Forces killed 26 December 65.
Today, my family and I remember our father, Commander Stanley Olmsted, Navy fighter pilot, missing in action over North Vietnam since October 17th, 1965.
My dad is Colonel Charles S. Riley, and he left a big hole when he was shot down. I love you, Dad. Happy Father's Day.
Hi, this is my dad, Cletus Whitaker, Vietnam, 68, 69. We lost him in 2017 due to Agent Orange. Love you, Dad. Happy Father's Day.
Today, my sisters and I remember our dad, Lieutenant Clyde David Taylor, born in San Marcos, Texas, killed in Vietnam, January 1966.
Specialist 4, Craig S. Metling, killed in action 3/13/1969, known as Giant to his friends and father to me.
Remembering my dad, SP4, Curtis E. Burkett, killed February 19th, 1971. I love you.
This Father's Day, I remember my dad, Dan Gleason, killed in action February 23rd, 1969. I love you, Dad. Miss you. Pray for you.
Remembering David Amon Sanford, killed in action 2/7/68. I will always love you, Daddy.
Every day I remember my father, David Jesse Moreno, born on Christmas Day in Elgin, Texas. Never forget.
Happy Father's Day to Army Captain David Marshall Davies, mortally wounded on April 1st in the bombing of the Hotel Victoria, 1966. Love you, Daddy.
Today, on Father's Day, my brother, sister, and I would love to pay tribute to David Mendoza, a loving father, grandfather, uncle, brother, a patriot. We love you, Daddy. We miss you.
Remembering my father, David Mann, KIA at 20 years old at Dak To, May 28, 1969. I wish I would have known you. Love you.
Our last family photograph together before our father, Staff Sergeant David Spears, was killed July of 1966. We miss you, Dad.
Happy Father's Day, Daddy. Delbert Chan Toddy, father of 6, KIA, 31 March 1967, Battle of Apgu.
Today I remember my father, Delbert Chan Toddy. He was killed March 31st, 1967, and I miss him very much.
We remember Corporal Dennis Francis Shine, USA Army from Worcester, Massachusetts, killed at age 21, leaving behind a son and daughter, forever in our hearts.
On this Father's Day, I want to remember my dad, Corporal Dennis F. Shine Jr., United States Army, who died at the age of 21. Our American hero, always remembered, never forgotten.
Hi, I'd like to wish my dad, Corporal Dennis F. Shine Jr. from Worcester, Mass., and all the other veterans a happy Father's Day. Sorry the pandemic kept us away. Hope to be together real soon.
Honoring my father, Lieutenant Commander Dennis Pike, missing in action over Laos since March 23, 1972. Father of 3, grandfather of 5. We can't wait to bring you home.
This is my father, Domingo Jose Morado, from San Antonio, Texas. He served in the Army 18 years, and he was killed in action May 13, 1969, and he had 6 daughters.
Remembering my father's co-pilot, Warrant Officer Don R. Harger, died 17 August 1967, father of 2 boys.
On Father's Day, I am thinking of my beloved Wall brother Terry and his dad, Donald McGregor, whose name is inscribed on panel 1 East, row 26.
My brother and I honor our brave, loving dad, Captain Donald Bryant, Army pilot, only child, KIA, 27 June 66.
On Father's Day, I remember my dad, Sergeant Dwight Montgomery Bull Durham, who served with the H Company Lerp Rangers, 75th Ranger Regiment.
I honor my dad, Earl Frederick Brown, killed in Vietnam, January 29th, 1966. Always my hero.
Though I have no memory of you on this Father's Day, I am loving you. Eddie Cervoni from Puerto Rico. He died 3 days before his 21st birthday.
Today I remember my father, Major Edward M. Hudgens, killed in Laos, March 21st, 1970.
Remembering and honoring my father, Commander Donald Richard Hubbs, missing in Vietnam since 1968. He is always in my heart, forever loved.
My name is Rex. On this Father's Day, I'm honoring my great-grandfather, Donald Richard Hubbs. Happy Father's Day.
Today and every day, my brother, sister, and I remember and honor our dad and hero, Major Erman M. Newman, Jr., U.S. Army, killed in action August 12, 1966.
Today, I remember my dad, Sergeant First Class Francisco Valley, killed March 12, 1968 in Vietnam.
My dad, Lieutenant Commander Frederick Peter Crosby. He was killed and listed missing in action in 1965, recovered 52 years later, buried in Fort Rosecrans.
Happy Father's Day to Staff Sergeant Gregory Unzicker, who is remembered by his daughter, his baby girl Stacy, who loves him dearly and looks forward to the day when they finally can meet.
Honoring my father, Sergeant Harold Reed, killed in action July 3rd, 1966.
Remembering and honoring my father, Lieutenant Roach, killed in Vietnam, 1964, and my son, Private First Class Joel Bertain, killed in Baghdad, Iraq, 2004. I love you always.
My father was Captain Harry G. Kramer, United States Army Special Forces, killed near Nha Trang, Vietnam, October 21st, 1957.
Happy Father's Day to my dad, Lieutenant Commander James A. Smith, killed in action on October 26, 1966, aboard the USS Oriskany.
My brothers and I honor our dad, our hero, Lieutenant Colonel Harry Morris, killed in action in Vietnam, also saw action in World War II and Korea. Dad, we love you and miss you.
In remembrance of our dad, Harvey Paul Kelly, that was killed in Vietnam, November 20th, 1969. We love you, we miss you, we wish you were here.
Remembering Henry Joseph Kuykendall, United States Marine Corps, killed in action, age 20, Vietnam. Your son.
Honoring my father, Henry Muir Serix, U.S. Air Force, missing in action, South Vietnam, April 2nd, 1972. Always in my heart, never forgotten.
Happy Father's Day to my dad, Sergeant Howard E. Query, who was killed on May 10th, 1968 in Vietnam, 2 months before I was born.
Today, my brothers and I remember our father, Commander Robert Saavedra, shot down over North Vietnam on April 28, 1968, still missing in action. You are not forgotten.
We honor Lieutenant Commander James Andrew Smith, killed in action October 26, 1966, Happy Father's Day, Dad. We miss you.
I'm wishing my father, Lieutenant Commander James Andrew Smith, happy Father's Day. We love you and miss you.
We honor our dad, James C. Mitchell Jr., U.S. Navy, Torrance, California, January 8th, 1970. We love you, Dad.
I'm Marie Kittimer. I'd like to remember James Doe Kittimer, 69 to 71, Army CW2 officer. He has 5 children from Fort Worth, Texas. On Father's Day, thank you.
This Father's Day, I remember my father, Colonel James E. Denneny, died in November of '69 in Vietnam, U.S. Air Force. He left behind 7 children. I'm Jim Jr. Thank you.
Today, I'm honoring my dad, James Pat Eccles, killed in action in Vietnam, August 12, 1969. Miss you forever.
Honoring our dad, James William Sampers, father of 4, United States Navy, killed September 7, 1969.
I am my best self when I'm my father's daughter. Happy Father's Day, Dad. Captain Jimmy Brazier, United States Army, missing in Vietnam.
Remembering Captain Joe Berkson, fellow Ranger Advisor to 5th Army Ranger Group, killed in Quang Tri Province, 1972. Rest in peace.
Today, I remember my grandfather, Joel D. Coleman, Panel 7E, Line 29. Forever our hero and always in our hearts. Happy Father's Day.
Honoring my grandfather, SP4 Joel Daniel Coleman. We continue to keep your legacy alive and in our hearts forever.
Remembering my husband, Joel Daniel Coleman, U.S. Army, father of our daughter, Kelly, killed in Vietnam, May 5th, 1966. Happy Heavenly Father's Day with love.
Today I remember my dad, Joel Daniel Coleman, killed in Vietnam, May 5th, 1966. Happy Father's Day. Love and miss you, Dad.
My daughter and I and our entire family are honoring my father, John Crawford, who died March 10th, 1967. He left behind so many who love him. My mom recently joined him. We love you both very much.
Today I honor and remember my father, Lieutenant Colonel John F. Stewart, United States Air Force, father of 5, MIA, body not recovered, December 20th, 1972, North Vietnam.
My brother, John Jacob McClay Jr., was killed in action at the age of 20, New Year's Eve, 1968. He never had the joy of becoming a father.
In honor of my father, John Kim Vogelsang, who was killed 10 days before I was born.
Hi, my name is Camille Gagan-Olson, and this is my family. I lost my dad in Idrang Valley in 1965. I was 6 months old. I was his only child, and he was an only child.
This is my father, John Michael Cole, United States Air Force First Lieutenant, killed in action July 2nd, 1972.
Happy Father's Day to our dad, Captain John W. Carlson, U.S. Air Force. We'll never give up looking for you, and I think you would have been a pretty awesome grandpa.
My brother, Lieutenant Jonathan Shine, had no children, but through the witness of his Christian life, he became the spiritual father and grandfather of many.
Remembering my father's crew chief, Spec 5 Joseph Benson, died 17 August 1967, father of a daughter he never got to meet.
My family and I will always remember and honor my father, Joseph Dana Jr., who was killed in action December 16, 1970.
Happy Father's Day to Joseph Hunt, whose daughter Susie remembers him with love and says, "He is my hero, my daddy."
I remember Captain Joseph M. Berkson, killed in action May 2nd, 1972 at 25 years old. As your only daughter, I miss you every day.
Hey everyone, I just wanted to take a second to remember my grandfather, Joseph Lyons, who died in Vietnam. He was a hero, and I love him and miss him.
To honor my father-in-law, Joe Lyons, that I never met, but I came to know through his dad and my lovely wife.
This Father's Day, I'd like to honor my dad, Corporal Joseph Walter Lyons, who was killed in action June 5th, 1968. Dad, we love and miss you.
This Father's Day, I'd like to remember my grandpa, Corporal Joe Lyons. He was killed in action in Vietnam in 1968 of June. Never got to meet him, but I do miss him. Also, thank you for the sending eye.
We would like to honor our father, Captain Kenneth Randall Price. He was in the Army Infantry and served 3 tours in Vietnam. He left behind 3 daughters.
Remembering my father, Lieutenant Colonel Kenneth Stonebreaker, who went missing in action on October 28, 1968.
Happy Father's Day to my dad, Larry Costley, killed October 3rd, 1968 at Camp Evans. We love you and miss you.
Remembering my father, Larry Harvey, United States Marine Corps, killed in action, October 3rd, 1965. Happy Father's Day.
Today we honor my dad, Larry Hagney, who served in the Army in Vietnam in 68-69 and received a Purple Heart. We love you, Grandpop.
This is in remembrance of my brother, Naval Corpsman Larry Joe Goff.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. My dad, Larry Joe Goss, was the senior corpsman of Kilo 39, but more importantly, he was a great husband and wonderful dad. Killed on Valentine's Day, 1968.
Happy Father's Day, Larry Joe Goss, panel 39E, line 32. It's been a pleasure to be the husband of your daughter and the father of your 5 grandchildren.
On Father's Day, we remember my grandpa, Larry Joe Goss, a loving husband and father, killed in action at the age of 21.
Today, we honor my grandfather, Larry Goss, who was killed in Vietnam in 1968 at the age of 21.
Today, I honor my grandpa, Larry, who fought for our country and died in the Vietnam War in 1968 on Valentine's Day.
Colton's grandpa, Larry Goss, in his final letter to my mom, February 13, 1968, he was killed the following day. Dear darling, how is my darling daughter today? I miss you very much.
Happy Father's Day, great grandpa, Larry.
Today I want to honor one of my high school classmates, Larry Goss, who gave his life fighting for the freedom of our country. Thank you, Larry.
Captain Martin Gronberg Jr., loved and missed by his daughter Heather, grandkids Amanda, Alex, Ben, and Suzanne, and great-grandkids. Happy Father's Day, Dad. We miss you.
Today, my sons and I remember my father, Platoon Sergeant Maurice Williams, killed in action February 1968.
I'm honoring my father, Commander Michael George Hoff, United States Navy, shot down over Laos, January 7th, 1970. He is still missing in action. Daddy, you will never be forgotten.
June 1968, my family lost a wonderful soul. Sergeant First Class Leroy Geyer left behind his wife, 3 children, 7 grandchildren, and 5 great-grandchildren. We all wish we could have made memories with you. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Dad. My father is Major Leroy I. Blankenship, killed in action in Antenna Valley, April 1st, 1969.
In honor of my daddy-o, Leslie Carnes of Missouri, killed in action February of 1971. Mom still waits for you, Daddy. I love you.
We remember and honor Linwood D. Martin on this Father's Day. We love you and miss you. Tammy, Tracy, and Linwood.
We remember Michael Monsolovich Jr., my father,
my grandfather,
my great-grandfather, killed in action May 5th, 1968.
Today I'm honoring my father, Michael William Orash, killed in action, Quan Tree Promises, April 27th, 1968, United States Marine Corps.
Today I remember my dad, Captain Milton Francis Smith, killed in action in Vietnam in November of 1966.
Remembering my dad, Oscar Moderer, missing in action, shot down over Laos 2/15/66, one of 1,587 still unaccounted for.
We remember my father, Captain Paul McNally, Marine Corps helicopter pilot, father of 3 from Massachusetts. You are forever in our hearts. Happy Father's Day.
This Father's Day, I would like to honor and remember my father, Randall H. Lloyd, that was killed in Vietnam, September 4th, 1968. Love you, Dad.
Today I'm remembering my father, Ray Daniel Pendergraft, killed in action in July 1967.
Remembering our father, Sergeant Raymond E. Layton,
killed in action March 1966.
I remember my dad, Colonel Richard Ambrose Walsh III, shot down Laos, February 15th, 1969. Still missing. Gonna bring you home one day, Dad.
Today, my family remembers our father and husband, Captain Richard D. Goss,
killed in action on August 29, 1964, in Benoit, Vietnam.
This Father's Day, I'm remembering my father, Richard Gibbons, who was killed in action May 29, 1968. Always remembered, never forgotten.
To my grandfather, Richard Schmidt, and to all fathers who have sacrificed for their family and their country, Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day, Dad, from your 6 children, 16 grandchildren, and 12 great-grandchildren. Your story will go on and you'll be loved forever.
This Father's Day, I'm thinking about my dad, Richard Sanders, who was killed on November 24th, 1967, when I was 3 years old. Miss you, Dad.
This Father's Day, I remember my grandpa, Richard Lee Sanders, who died on November 24th, 1967. Always remembered.
Today, my sisters and I remember our father, Richard T. Post, a Marine Corps veteran from Hartford, Ohio, who passed away a year ago from Agent Orange exposure in Vietnam.
My father and hero was Captain Robert D. Bennett. He was killed in action November 5th, 1962. He was an air commando in the United States Air Force.
Remembering and honoring my father, Colonel Robert Dale Anderson, my hero. His plane was shot down in Vietnam in 1972 and he was killed. Happy Father's Day, I love you.
This Father's Day, we remember our dad, Colonel Robert Dale Anderson, who died in 1972 in the Vietnam War. He was a United States Air Force pilot, and we miss him every day.
Happy Father's Day, Daddy. Captain Ron Forrester, United States Marine Corps, still missing in action. I miss you and love you.
We are honoring my father,
my grandfather,
Robert Guy Strickland, KIA, June 1969. We love and miss you.
Remembering and honoring my dad, Air Force Major Robert Horsky, and the 80 foreman he died with when their plane crashed in Vietnam, December 11, 1965.
This video is made in memory of my father, Robert Joseph Davis, killed in action October 1st, 1968.
In memory of Robert Lewis Howard, killed in action on June 10, 1969 in Vietnam. From your son, your grandsons, gone but not forgotten.
Remembering and honoring my father, Ronald Reyes. He was killed in action March 30th, 1968 at Quezon.
Remembering my father, Colonel Roy A. Knight, Jr., U.S. Air Force, shot down over Laos, 1967, and whose remains were returned last year. Welcome home, Dad.
Today, my family and I remember and honor my father, Reginald Stewart, also known as Samuel K. Stewart.
In honor of my father, Lieutenant Commander James A. Smith, happy Father's Day. I love you, miss you. I know you'd be proud of your 4 sons. Wish we could have had a beer together.
We honor and remember SFC Thomas H. Welsh, 5th Special Forces Group, KIA, 16 May 66.
Today, I remember my dad, Chief Master Sergeant Thomas Moore, captured 10/31/65 in Bien Hoa, Vietnam.
My daddy was Chief Master Sergeant Thomas Moore, United States Air Force. He was taken prisoner on October the 31st, 1965. He still remains unaccounted for and missing in action. We love you, Dad, and wish we had a Father's Day.
I remember my dad, Sergeant Tommy Ray Thompson, killed in action December 2nd, 1967. Mom and I miss you every day.
I'm here with my son, honoring my dad, Vernon Franklin Pendergrass, United States Marine Corps. To my dad and yours,
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to my dad, Walter Carney, killed in Vietnam, June 13th, 1969. Every day, I wish I had met you. I love you very much.
Today, I remember my husband, SP4 Walter J. Carney, killed on June 13th, 1969. Till we meet again. Love you.
Hi, I'm Ken Mobley. Along with my mom Alice and my brother Mike and my entire family, we're honoring my father, CW2 Warren H. Mobley, this Father's Day. Forever in honor.
My father, Chief Warrant Officer Wayne E. Jones, died in Vietnam, 17 August 1967. He was 33 years old, father of 5 children who miss him every day.
I'm blessed to honor my father, Air Force Captain William C. Mattis, killed in action March 11th, 1965. Until we meet again.
I remember William Alexander Griffiths III, father of two, Marine, killed in 1970, forever in my heart.
Today we honor our grandfather, Captain William Anderson Branch from Fitzgerald, Georgia.
50 years ago, you were buried on Father's Day.
We miss you.
My dad loved life and his family. I was a daddy's girl and his shadow for our 9 years and cherish those memories with all my heart. I love and miss you forever.
On Father's Day, I'm remembering Charles Lovelace and my dad, William E. Cordero, who were lost on a bombing mission over Laos. They left behind 7 children, and tomorrow, June 22nd, is the 55th anniversary of their loss.
My father, Major William Edward Cordero Sr., United States Air Force, was lost over Vietnam in 1965, but his courage and love of country is remembered by all, especially those who've never met him.
Honoring our grandfather, Major William E. Cordero.
Killed in action on June 22nd, 1965.
On behalf of your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren,
We love you and wish you a happy Father's Day.
Thank you, sons and daughters in touch, for honoring the lives and legacies of those that are forever remembered in our nation's capital on the Vietnam Wall Memorial. To all of you, we wish you a very happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to all the fathers and grandpas on the wall.